All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning. I'd like to welcome you all to the museum, the Virginia Museum of Transportation. I'm Ken Lanford. I'm the chairman of the board. Appreciate y'all coming out, and told Bev I wish we could have done this yesterday. It was a little bit sunnier and a little bit nicer to be outside, but we're glad to be here and glad to have y'all here. Let me go ahead and introduce Bev Fitzpatrick, our executive director, and he's going to take it from there. So Bev, come on out.
Thank you, Ken. Ladies and gentlemen, let me add my welcome. Ken has done a wonderful job as our president. He's been president for 3 years, and we continue to grow and prosper under his leadership. Those of you who know the museum, and we're now in our 50th year, we were started, and our mission as a museum is to protect and preserve Virginia's transportation heritage. Behind me is one or two of the most important locomotives ever built, created right here in Roanoke by Roanoke people who designed and built and ran these locomotives. The Norfolk and Western Class J 611 and Class A 1218 were built in the shops, as you all know, less than a half a mile from here, and serve as a tribute to what the Norfolk and Western did for this community for so many years. Today, we'd like to announce that we are beginning a feasibility study to restore 611 and let her thunder across the landscape once again. 611 was built in 1950. It was one of 14. It's the only one left in the world. The City Council of Roanoke has named her the Spirit of Roanoke. And what we would like to see is the spirit of Roanoke traveling throughout the Commonwealth and beyond as a representative of the city and the citizens that made things like this possible. Ever since she was retired in 1994, we have had hundreds of fans asking us, will it ever run again? Probably the most important thing we want you to know today is all during that time, we've been listening to those fans. So what we're doing today is announcing a study to determine if we can restore 611 and have her run it again. We have a name called Fireup611. The study will research what it would take to restore it, to operate it, and to maintain it. You all already know it's known all over the world for its beauty and its power. It's a special locomotive. People who love other locomotives across the country think this one is really special. It's the queen of steam worldwide. Last year, over 200 people came here from England alone to see 611. So it continues to have a huge number of followers. We've formed a committee that has experts and a couple of others that will be involved in helping us look at the steam locomotive technologies, the business aspects, the operation aspects, and safety. And I'd like to let you know who those members are. First, Ken Lanford, our chairman of the board, will be on it. We have our chairman, Preston Clater, who is to my right here, number 2. Preston is a Roanoke native. Preston has been the engineer of this locomotive. He's also been the fireman, and he knows more about it than any of us, other than maybe Scott Lindsay, who likes to tell Preston he knows more than he does. Scott, who is president of Steam Operations Corporation, which is a company that specializes in the restoration of historic rail equipment, is also on the committee, and he's right there with his hand up. Sherry George, who is the owner of a software consulting company in Atlanta, who has been a volunteer fireman of 611 and part of the crew in some of the excursion runs. She's the only one that's attractive on the committee. Jim Wren, who is editor of Trains Magazine in Milwaukee, is on the committee. Jeff Sanders, president of the Roanoke chapter of the National Railway Historical Society, who's right here. Ron Davis, who's president of the Norfolk and Western Historical Society. We try to distinguish between those two organizations, and we have trouble from time to time. Will Harris, a board member of the VMT, who is the president of Norfolk Lumber Company in Goshen, Virginia, and you all know him as the mover of the lost engines of Roanoke. Not that we're going to try to move 611 that way. Don't get confused. And Gene Bollendorf, who's right here, who is the executive director of the History Society of Western Virginia, who will be representing the Link Museum on the committee. Let me tell you a little bit about what they'll try to do. The committee will determine what work is needed for the locomotive to be operationally restored, as well as identifying experts and facilities that may be able to handle that work, and it's also going to put together some preliminary cost estimates. Those will be based on what it's going to take to get 611 running again, and obviously having to meet the requirements of the Federal Railroad Administration, some of which have changed since 611 ran in excursion service. They will also put together a business plan for 611. We're hoping within 60 to 90 days that the committee will present its findings to the board of the museum, and based on the estimated cost and the feasibility of restoring the locomotive, the museum and the committee will decide whether she can be restored and operated. It's very important for us to make a point about the critical nature of the business plan. It's going to cost a lot of money to get this locomotive running, operating, and maintained. We're going to have to know what that's going to cost, because the museum does not have the means to do that itself, and it's going to be those fans of 611 from all over the world that we hope will join together and help us create the opportunity to see it run again. Because, as you know, fans have said they want it to run. Now it's the fans' turn to help us understand how much they want it to run, and we're dependent on folks like you. We have a website set up called Fireup611.org to begin the process. It'll be up today. We have a survey posted, SurveyMonkey, that will help us get information for the business plan and tell us about interest of folks in the locomotive. And we will also have, believe it or not, a link so that you might make a donation. We have a couple guys over here from Charleston, West Virginia, another one from Salisbury, North Carolina, Zach and Will, and they promised to give us half the money already. But we don't know whether they're going to come forward with that or not. But nevertheless, this is the chance for people to show us what it's going to take. We also are encouraging folks to give us money for the study, because the study is going to require some additional expenses that we do not have at the Transportation Museum, and we would like to have some help doing that as well. It's our hope and our dream that the deep-throated whistle of a fired-up 611 will blow again throughout the Roanoke Valley in the Commonwealth of Virginia and way beyond. What we ask you to do today is to join us in the challenge to bring the greatest locomotive in the world back to steam operations so that we will see 611 fired up once more.
Yeah! Yes! Yes!
I want to thank three people in particular, Rick Rader, Chad Jordan, and Gary Gray, who over the last 3 days were given the assignment to have the bell ring and the whistle blow, and you just heard the response and the great job they did. This is a tremendous opportunity. It's also probably the largest challenge ever faced by this museum, to bring something that is Roanoke born and bred back to life. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you all might have. Thank you so much for being here. Come on around me. Good. No, that means questions period's over. All right. Thank you, Peg.